Did you know you can design stenciled edges in Procreate? In this video, I will show you how to make stenciled edges from start to finish, how to design them, how to make the stencil, and finally, how to paint your book. I created a mini toolkit for this tutorial and you can download it for free. It's linked in the description. It's a set of 6 templates for stenciled edges and a couple Procreate brushes as well. So if you want to follow along with this tutorial, make sure to download it from the link in the description. My cutting machine is a Silhouette machine, so I'll be using Silhouette Studio for this tutorial, but you can use any other cutting machine that you have, but the software will be different. So grab your brushes and your template and let's get started. So the first step is to download the template and the brushes. And once you do that, you should have a zipped folder. So I'm just going to open it by tapping on it. And now let's open this new folder. And here we have a brush set and a Procreate file. I'm going to open the Procreate file first, and I do that by tapping on it. And it should import and open in Procreate. And now I'm also going to import the brushes. And to import the brushes, we just need to tap the brush set file. Now it has imported and it should show up on top of your brush library. So here it is. It is the stenciled edge tutorial. And in this brush set, we have 3 brushes. So we have an inking brush and then 2 stamps. We're going to be creating 3 stencils today. In the first 2, we will be using stamps. And then in the last one, we will be drawing with the inking brush. I'm going to give you a quick overview of the template file. I made this template for the dimensions of the spine of a hardback book. So this is 24 centimeters per 4 centimeters. This is obviously going to change depending on the book that you're using. But if you want to change the dimensions, you can just go to Actions, Canvas, Crop and Resize, Settings, and then you can change the dimensions right here. This is in centimeters because that's the unit that we use here in Europe. But if you want to change it to inches, we can just tap on it and see how much this is in inches. And you can also change the dimensions here. I'm going to keep it in centimeters because the rest of the template is also in centimeters. And now I'll show you the layers of this file. So let's open up layers. And as you can see, this template has 3 groups. So the first group is spine size, which I will get to in a minute. Then the second group is your design here. So this is where you should put all of your layers of your design. And then the third group is design templates. So here we have 6 design templates that you can use to guide your stencil edge designs. In this tutorial, we're just going to use the first 3 because we're going to be designing 3 different stencils. But I decided to give you a few more so you can design your own stencils with some more different templates. The first one is the one that is activated. And this is the first one that we're going to use. It's a very simple template and it's one that I use a lot. If you look at stencils on my shop, you can see that I use this when I have one element that I want to repeat multiple times. So that's usually when I have my individual stencils and then I have the same stencil in a pattern. I usually use this kind of layout. Then the second one is also for one element repeated, but it has more of an oval shape. And this one I use when my elements are a bit narrower and more like a rectangle. And we're going to be using this one today as well. Then the third one is for smaller elements. So you can use this with stars, hearts, small little elements that you like to repeat. We're going to use this one today to make a heart design, but you can also do mini flowers or stars or any other shape that you want. And then these next 3 templates we're not going to use today, but I'm just going to show you. This one is similar to the first one, but we also have some smaller elements. For example, my flower stencil has this kind of design. Then this next one is actually similar to the second one, but it has more elements. This one was used for my cowboy boot stencil. And then finally, the last one is a little bit different than the other ones, but I also wanted to give you this. In this template, you can have a center element and then some leaves and some swirls. And this is the template for my rose and leaves stencil. But now I'm just going to activate template 1 again, and I'm just going to show you the spine size group. In this group, we have 4 different layers and they all come hidden because you only need to activate these layers if your spine is smaller than 4 centimeters and you don't want to change the size on the crop and resize. I'm going to be doing that in the second example because I'm going to be making a stencil for a 25mm spine. And basically what this does, if we activate the layer, is just we're going to have some white rectangles and we will know that the spine is only on the inside of those rectangles. I decided to make it like this so that we don't lose the rest of the template, but I will show you that once we get to the second design. Now we're going to start with the first design and we have to select layer 1. So inside the your design here group, and I'm going to select the butterfly stem. The brush will come with this default size, which is 35%. You can change this to another size, of course, but if you want to make the same design as me, you can leave it at 35. And now I'm just going to stamp it once. Now let's select it, move it over to the top, and I'm actually going to rotate it a little bit. I'm actually going to turn on magnetics, so we need to go to snapping, magnetics and turn it on. And now we can rotate it by a certain dimension, maybe 105. Yeah, I think 105 is going to be good. So I'm just going to place it like this. And now I'm going to duplicate this layer. Then I will flip it horizontally and move it to the bottom. And now we can actually merge these two layers and just duplicate the group. And then I just merged it and I'm going to duplicate it again. And I'm going to place it on the rest of the elements. Now, as you can see, we have this tiny little butterfly that was left here. Usually I will actually erase this because I don't need this little detail. So I'm just going to erase that. And I'm going to merge these layers again. And I'm just going to hide the design templates. And this is the first design. So I'm just going to rename it Stencil 1, and then we can export it. But for now, I'm just going to hide it and make a new layer because I'm going to show you how to create all of the designs first, and then I'll show you how to export them. So now we're going to go back to design templates and let's activate template 2. But the spine on this book is only 2.5 centimeters. So I'm going to have to activate the spine size layer. So let's activate that. And it's a 25mm spine size. So I'm just going to toggle that. But now this template doesn't really look right because this was made for a 4cm spine. So I'm actually going to edit it. And to do that, I will duplicate it and I'm going to hide the first one. And now I will select it, and using the freeform option, I will change it a little bit. So this will obviously distort your template, but this is just a template, so it's fine. As long as you only distort the template and not your actual design, you should be fine. So now the template is adjusted to the spine, and now it's ready to be used with a 2.5cm spine. Now let's go back to layers and make sure that you're using the layer that's on the Your Design Here folder so that you don't accidentally draw on top of your template. And now we're going to be using the snake stamp brush. So let's select that. So let's just stamp it on the page. And like before, I'm just going to rotate it and place it however I want. For this one, I actually may turn off magnetics because I want it to be a little bit more smooth. So now I'm going to duplicate it and again, flip it horizontally and flip it vertically as well in this case. And now I am going to place it in the same position next to this oval. And now that we have two elements, we can create the repeat. So I'm just going to merge these layers, duplicate them again, and align it to the rest of the template. So let's see. And now I will duplicate the previous element as well for the top. And now I'm just going to hide the template so we can see what it looks like. And this is what the spine looks like, but I'm not going to export it like this. I'm actually going to hide the spine size group because this way I have a little bit more on the elements on each size, and it will give me a little bit more wiggle room to cut the stencil because I always cut the stencil slightly larger than the book spine. So this way, when I export the entire image, I will have a little bit more of the design that I can then cut off on the Silhouette Studio software. Now I'm going to merge these layers and I'm going to rename them Stencil 2, and I'm going to hide that and add the third layer. So for this third stencil, we need to activate template 3. And for this one, we're actually going to be drawing the elements. So I'm going to select the inking brush. And again, make sure that you're drawing on a new layer. And now I'm just going to be drawing some hearts. I like to clean up the edges of the hearts a little bit. You can make some bigger and other ones smaller. I think the nice thing about these free-flowing stencils is that they are kind of organic. So that's what I'm trying to do with this one. I am not trying to draw the same heart over and over again. I'm trying to make them look different because otherwise I would just use a heart stem. And also try to make the hearts go in different directions. So these two, I made them like this, but now this one I'm going to slant it this way. So that's a little bit different. Once you have these first 11 elements, you can actually duplicate this layer because the rest of the template is just a repeat of these first 11 elements. So I'm just going to duplicate that layer and move it down. Now, if you want to create some more variety, you can actually flip it horizontally. But for this one, I'm actually going to keep it the same. And now I will merge these two layers and duplicate them again. Then I just move it down, merge them again, and duplicate one last time. Now to see what the template looks like, let's just hide the design template. And this is the hearts design. If you want to, you can also obviously adjust some of the elements now. You can select them and move them if you want to. You can erase some of the elements and redraw them. Again, the template is just a guide for you to use as a start. You can obviously use it however you want, but I just thought I'd share some repeat patterns that have worked well for me in the past. Now I'm just going to rename the layer Stencil 3. And now the last step is to export the design. So I'm just going to go back to Stencil 1 and make sure that the design template layers are not visible. And then just go to Actions, Share, and select PNG. And here you can just save the image to your iPad, or you can airdrop it to your computer, which is what I'm going to do. So I'm just going to select airdrop and then my computer. And then once we have it in our computer, we can use it to make a stencil. So now let's move on to the computer where I'll show you how to turn the PNG images into an actual vinyl stencil. To make the stencils, I am using Silhouette Studio, and the first thing I need to do is to import the images. So I'm just going to import the images. I just drag and drop, and I'm going to import the second one as well. Again, I just drag and drop it. But right now, these are just PNG files, so we need to convert them into cut files. To do that, we need to click on this button right here, which is the trace tool, and we will select trace area. So I'm going to do this one first. So I'll just select the snake stencil. And this one looks pretty good. Everything is in yellow, but I think this detail is a little bit too thin. So I'm just going to increase the threshold a little bit. I'm going to leave it at 50, 57 is okay. And then I will click trace. Now I'm going to do the same with the butterfly one. Now I also want an outline of the stencil. So I'm just going to click the PNG image, and I'm going to go to the offset feature and click on offset and select sharp corners. And I'm just going to click apply. Now I can actually delete the PNG image. So I'm just going to select it and delete. And here we have our first stencil. I'm also going to offset the butterfly stencil. So same thing. And now I can delete the PNG. Now we have the cut files of both of our stencils. These are ready to be cut, but they are not in the right dimensions of our books just yet. Like I told you before, the snake stencil is for a 2.5 centimeter book. So I'm going to create a rectangle just to show what 2.5 centimeter looks like here. So I'm just drawing the rectangle, and then I'm going to put 25 on the width. And this is what it looks like. I'm going to change the color just so we can see better. I'm going to change it to black. And now I'm just going to position it where I want the stencil to be. So kind of like this. Now this is where I want the spine, but I do want the stencil to be a little bit bigger than this. So I am going to make a rectangle probably around here. And I'm going to select the stencil and select this new rectangle. And then using the modify tool, I will subtract this new rectangle. And this way we will have the stencil with just a little bit of bleed. And now I just select the snake design and subtract again. And I'll delete this black rectangle. Otherwise it will be also cut, and we don't want that. And now I will adjust this frame to the right size. The snake stencil is now ready to be cut. And then this one, I will just make it a lot smaller because the book is a lot smaller than the spine until I get the right dimension. In this case, for the book that I'm painting, I actually need 2 more butterflies. So I'm just going to duplicate it. I press on Alt and I drag it. And I'm just going to place these on top of the other butterflies so that they are in the right place. I'm actually going to change the color so I can see better. So I'm going to change it to blue. Make sure that they are in the correct position. So I'm just going to align them. And now I will ungroup them and remove these blue butterflies. Okay, now we can make this stencil bigger. I'm going to just add 2 more butterflies, and I will delete these last 2. All that we have to do is to cut the stencil. So to cut the vinyl, we need to go to the Sand tab, and the machine settings will depend on what material you're using and your actual machine. But I recommend starting with the vinyl setting that is recommended for your machine. Then if you need, you can also adjust the blade or the strength, for example. But I do recommend following the instructions for your machine. But after I have my settings, I just hit send and it will cut. This is the adhesive vinyl that I use, is this one from the Silhouette brand. We're also going to need some paint. I use water-based acrylic paint, and we obviously need a paintbrush. I use a regular paintbrush. And then to press our book, we need some book boards and some clamps. Now the machine is going to cut the vinyl, so we need to wait until that's over. And once the vinyl is cut, we need to weed the design. And to do that, we use a weeding tool. This one is by the Silhouette brand. And weeding is actually a very simple process. You just need to use the weeding tool to pick up the leftover design. And once that's done, you can apply transfer tape. I'm just using regular clear transfer tape, but you can also use contact paper for this. I do recommend testing your transfer tape with your vinyl because some transfer tapes are too strong and others aren't strong enough. And make sure to press well the transfer tape to the stencil. Now we need to press our book and sand the edges. This is a very important step, especially if your pages aren't even, because uneven pages can cause ink bleeding. I'm just using a manual sander and then I just wipe the excess dust. Once the edges are smooth, we can finally apply our stencil. And to do that, we need to remove the stencil from the backing paper. And you use the transfer tape to do that. And then carefully apply it to your book. Press it well to the edges so that when you remove the transfer tape, the stencil won't come off. And then it's time to remove the transfer tape. It should come off easily, but if you notice your stencil lifting, just press it back down again. Now press the stencil again. It's very important that the stencil is fully glued to the pages so that there isn't any ink bleeding. And now we can finally paint the book. I paint using a stippling motion and I apply small coats of paint each time. I usually only apply one layer and then after it's a little bit dry, I go over with a very light second coat and any spots that may be missing. Once our book has fully dried, we can remove the stencil. This paint actually dries very quickly, but this may depend on the paint that you're using. So make sure to do some tests before using it on your book. And then we can remove the clamps and our book is done. And this is the final result of the books once they have been painted with the stencils. The middle one isn't the exact same stencil that we designed in this video because this was already painted. This is the Hearts Reverse stencil that I have on my shop, but I just wanted to show you all of them together and this is what they look like. And here we have, this is the result of the stencils we designed in this video. Like I said, I did not paint the heart stencil in this video. I had already made that before. And this is a stencil that it's available on my shop, but I decided to show you how I created it. I didn't create it exactly like that one. This one is smaller, but I just wanted to show you. I'm really happy with how they turned out. This is actually the second time that I painted Kingdom of the Wicked. I don't know if you can tell on video, but the pages are a lot shorter than the actual art cover because I didn't really like the edges that I painted the first time around. This was one of the very first books that I painted and I didn't know that we needed to sand the edges before we paint it. And since this book had kind of deckled edges, it had a lot of ink bleeding. So I had been putting off painting this book again, but I'm glad I did it for this video because now I finally have some edges that I like and I'm really happy with the snakes, and now I finally have a snake stencil. And I'm also really happy with the butterflies. I didn't know what to do with this one. This is Raiders of the Lost Ark by Joe Segura, but this cover has a lot of cool elements that could be the edges, and I want to make another stencil with these flowers, but I do have another book on my shelf that I can do that for. I thought the butterflies would look good in this one and I'm happy with my decision. Now with these templates, you can also create any other design that you want. We only use 3 of the templates in this video, but you have 3 other templates that you can use with whatever elements you want. And even with the templates that we used in this video, you can obviously create a lot more designs with them just by changing the elements. If you'd like some more stamp brushes to make the stencils, you can check out my Procreate Toolkit, the Gilded Tales Toolkit, which is a set of brushes, templates, and mockups to create your own DIY special edition designs. So you can use those stamps to make stenciled edges or your own DIY book covers. But that's all for today's video. I really hope you enjoyed watching. If you did, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. And if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. Thank you so much for watching and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!